Hey guys, Alex Kahn here, and we are going to take a look at this 1/18 scale diecast. It's a 2004 Pontiac GTO, and this is a special car. It's a chase car limited to 500 pieces worldwide, and this has a bare metal finish to it. So don't you guys worry, I won't need any paint for this. It was intentionally made to look like this. So yeah, bare metal. Looks like it came right out of the factory. I guess the buyer was in such a hurry he couldn't get any paint on it. Anyways, the box. This is a very limited edition diecast. The box itself isn't anything special. You can see it's American Muscle ERTL Collectibles. But there is one little sticker on there on the front which says Mint Edition Chase Car. That makes this car really special. Not the sticker, but the fact that it's limited to 500 pieces. And this is probably the most limited of the ERTL 2004 Pontiac GTOs, but there's a lot of other cool colors available for this one, the more factory stock colors that is. But the reason why I like this one is it came in this really weird looking bare metal look. When I first took it out of the box, I thought it had taken smoke damage to it. When I touched it, nope, this is intentionally made to look like this. But yeah, so the box doesn't really say anything special about this chase car. I had to look online for information about this, just to see what was so special about it. And then I found other listings for this car, which said this car was limited to 500. And it's not just that. Later on I'll show you, but on the bottom of the undercarriage you can see the limited amount of numbers that were produced for this particular diecast. I believe I have 450, but we will confirm that in just a bit. So yeah, this one does have that really weird license plate in the back. I say it's weird because I'd rather not have a license plate. Like, if anything, I'd rather it have, just a regular sticker there that says Pontiac GTO so that I can replace it later on without feeling guilty. But yeah, when you take it out of the box, yeah, you have to take a look at this bare metal finish. And apparently this is the way it's supposed to look. But yeah, this is a really cool diecast. Now, the Pontiac GTO, the 2004 to 2006, was considered the 5th generation of Pontiac GTOs. They've had 4 generations before this, obviously. The first 2 being the most popular, the last 2 being the most forgotten. But 30 years after Generation 4 came the Pontiac GTO, 5th generation reborn. And what's really interesting about this car, it's not American made. This is actually an Australian import. In Australia, it was called the Holden Monero. And when we brought it over to the United States, we simply rebadged it. And we switched the driver's side from the right to the left to make it more American compliant. And those were the biggest changes that were made to this car. But aside from that, this is an Australian muscle car. And it's got the rear wheel drive. And if you look inside the engine, this is a really cool thing about this car. You can see it's really powerful engine. This is an LS1 V8 engine. It's the same engine that you would have found on the Corvette of this time period. So it's capable of 350 horsepower. It is strong. It is a beast. But most people wrote this car off because of the way it looks. See all these kind of undistinctive clean lines to it? That turned off a lot of potential buyers, plus the high sticker price of about, I believe it was about $34,000, which was a bit higher than what they expected. I think they were expecting around $28,000. But because of the time it took to bring this over to the United States, and because it was an Australian import, the price went up just a little bit. But yeah, for fans of muscle cars that aren't so mainstream, like the Camaro or the Challenger, Mustang, whatever, I think this one was a great alternative because it was very, very discreet looking. It was kind of a sleeper car, to be honest. And it didn't have that cheesy appeal that the more popular muscle cars had. Because, when you see like a Camaro on the street, it's like, oh, wow, there's another Camaro. But with these Pontiac GTOs, 5th generation, people are like, oh, look at that, it's just a regular Pontiac. But if you look under the hood, or if you see this thing fly from the start, you would know that this was indeed a muscle car. You weren't dealing with a Grand Prix or a Sunfire. This was a completely different beast altogether. But yeah, so what you're seeing here is the 2004 variant. And most of this is pretty stock looking, except for the lack of a paint job. If you notice here, the exhaust all comes down the driver's side. Here's the exhaust system. It all exits out the driver's side. But in 2005 and 2006, they had the tail exhaust going down both ends. But here's what I wanted to show you really. See that number 450 of 500? This is a very limited item. And I'm proud to have this one here. We got some factory rims on here. 5-spoke rims. Oh, and here's something else. 2005, 2006, the car had the more distinctive hood scoops right here to make it pay homage to the original Pontiac GTOs. But in 2004, they did offer the sports appearance package, where you could actually add the hood scoops on it, among other things, for this body kit. And then that made the car a little bit more appealable to the muscle car generation. People who wanted more styling out of their rather plain looking Pontiac GTO. And we might as well open this bad boy up here. This does not open in the trunk. But I have seen the other ERTL Pontiac GTO 5th generation cars. They do all open up. But for some reason this one does not. Unless I'm not pulling hard enough, but I am not gonna break this. Again, it's limited to 500 pieces. And from people who own this car, they've always commented on just how comfortable and how sophisticated the interior was. It reminded some people of a more luxurious BMW interior. And apparently, even though it's a 2-door muscle car, apparently people could fit really comfortably in the back seats as well. And then again, the engine is pretty sweet looking. It's a stock LS1 V8 engine. Got some fog lights on it. And if I were to buy this car back in the day, I personally would have probably have picked maybe black as the color for this. Just because I think black is great on muscle cars. Red would be kind of cool too, but I feel like, red is overdone. It's almost kind of cheesy for a muscle car. Well, the same could be said about black as well, but, I'd rather have black than red. And if you guys ever want to see a movie that the 5th generation Pontiac GTO is in, you can check out The Last Ride, made in 2004, starring Dennis Hopper. And then also the latest Herbie movie. I think it's called Herbie Refueled, or Herbie Fully Refueled, I forgot. But there's also a little scene where... what's that guy's name? Well, one of the actors is driving a Pontiac GTO 2014, and it's got racing decals on it. And that's a pretty cool scene. It loses to the Volkswagen, of course, because, it's Herbie. But those are the two movies that features this last generation Pontiac GTO. I do wish they would have continued with the 5th generation line, but I am hopeful that they'll bring it back for a 6th generation. I just feel like, people did miss out on this really great muscle car. It's, again, on the exterior, it's not much to look at, but I think a lot of people today would appreciate the sleeper look to it, because not everybody wants to be so flashy with their power. But if the situation demands power, then it's good to have that power on call. So anyways, I just want to show off my chase car of limited to 500. Let me know what you guys think about this car.